first episode. No, this is not the first episode, but first in a while at least with actual errors. Wow, this is wow. Okay, let's go to the game. Let's see if I can find the game. Ah, found it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Hopefully, you can take me back without the arrows. Thank you, thank you. I don't know what that was. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take you through. I don't believe this is my first brilliant I've ever analyzed, but this is the first I've done in a while. I want to do it for this game specifically, um, for that reason. So let's go. We get e4, c5, playing my Sicilian. Get a traditional French Sicilian. We get this position. Now in this position, white is always like slightly better. You see the eval. Actually, let me bring the bar up for you guys. White is always slightly better, but only if they play e5 to blunt the power of the bishop, um, bring a greater threat towards f6. And at this point, I pretty much either have to keep my bishop for the remainder of the game, or I cannot castle king side. I have to work to castle queen side, right? And it's all because, let me just set up the position. Let's say I get something like, I don't know, here, castle. Well, this is not really as much of a threat, but what the real threat is a position more like this, see? And now I literally just cannot castle this way because of a threat of always threats of lollies and the such. So point on g7. Now I would take a few moves to be a threat, but also I'm down a piece. That's another thing. But I was just setting it up for the sake of argument. Obviously, this will never happen in a game. But point being, pawn gets here. This diagonal is supremely blunted now, and there's always a threat for something to get to f6 and threaten a lolly checkmate on g7. But anyways, now we get in the game. So he goes, I castles. And even here, you see, I'm not even winning now, right? Because here, well, it's not supposed to be winning, but if I play e5, well, if I play e5, really, I can see that, but I still feel like that would mess up the power of the bishop. But anyways, we get castles, and then you see the bar is skewing. Because nobody's really established a real advantage yet. But then I go h6, which is a slight inaccuracy, but again, still early in the game. He trades, and then he plays e5. The difference between e5 here now is that I don't have to play. I don't have to play f6. I could play f5, right? And all things considered, I probably should play f5 to maintain this pressure on the pawn. And simultaneously, if we get a position like, say, here and takes or whatever, this obviously doesn't fork because it's not defended. I have a open file with rook and queen, double stacked, and the knight on this diagonal is super weak, and or the pawn on b2 is super weak by extension. So, e5 here is not nearly as much of a threat, essentially. And I instead go for a different plan. Right, because actually here f6 again, weirdly enough, f6 is the line here to play. Apparently, he goes for en passant, and we get this position after d4. Now at this point, this is when I knew, and actually I'm not sure why this is winning, and this is not what happens in the game, by the way. Oh, and then that diagonal opens up, and then that's a threat. Okay, fair enough. Some learning things in these games too. So I'll go rook d8. He takes, And at this point, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna take, right? Because I can just trade back. You see the idea? And weirdly enough, if I go look at the analysis, because I was kind of waiting on this point in the game, I'm pretty sure this is where the brilliant is. Because at this point, it's like 3 or 4 moves left in the game. Once we get to this position, I want to say, yeah, it's like well, 6 moves left at this point, right? It's a mistake. This is the best move apparently, which we already knew, but yeah, good move. And yeah, this is the brilliant, because and this is a very beautiful tactical exchange right here, because essentially what I'm doing is I'm removing the defender, and this is something you haven't really seen in my games much, but it's a stratagem that I've been trying to be more mindful of throughout my games, and hopefully you'll see that in some of my later analysis. But anyways, yeah, so yeah, this is a brilliant move, because regardless, either you lose the queen, right, which is the only way you would be able to guard this knight, in theory, right, in this position, right, because here's not a move, for obvious reasons, because I just take, right. Let's say you go here, right. This is gonna tell you it's a blunder, right? Yeah, takes free, or takes, you ignore the issue and you lose your queen. Either way, it's bad. But let's just say you take, you move here, you take, your rook's under attack. So all in all, bad move. You lose a pawn. Well, you technically lose a knight and a pawn, and with that, you lose the game. But yeah, and at this point, he pretty much, did he lose on time? No, I think he resigns, or he like abandons, because he kind of he loses hope in the game. But yeah, this is a brilliant move. It removes the defender, so now the knight on c5 is free, and the knight on d4 is super weak. He obviously goes to guard it, and then I play bishop a6, which is a slight inaccuracy. But then he plays queen f3. I go for the trade. He probably shouldn't have traded there, and we trade, and this is the end of the game. He resigns at this point. And you might be wondering, okay, why resign? Well, there is some logical, like, there's some logical, reasonings for it. Number one, I have central advantage with these 2 pawns connected. Well, these 3 pawns connected in the center on the same side as my king. I have the advantage. Now, he does have the queen side majority, if you see that, right? Which can be a problem later in the game. However, my bishop is unopposed on the diagonal with no real genuine way to cause any issues on this diagonal, right? Can't go here, I always take. Here in a push is also not really the play here, because I can go rook b1 to capture the pawn, and go rook, it's options. And there's ways to avoid that form of attacking pressure in this position. So yeah, really don't have much of a theme for this video other than removing the guard. Be mindful of that. How the pieces interact. That can save some games. Because at this point, when he takes here, it kind of catches me off guard, and you see the computer evaluation says it's a great move, because it is a great move, because regardless, this is going to end up as an equal exchange, right? See what I mean? At the end of it, nobody wins the piece. And I think that was probably why he kind of lost hope in the game and traded, other than the fact that I reconnect my pawns with this queen trade, and, I have an unopposed bishop. His knight doesn't really have any good squares. I can always just go rook c1 or c8. Pawn's not weak. The rook's not on open file. He has no open file. I have the 2 open files, and I can take advantage of that. So there's some advantages in this position that logically would lead one to believe Black is probably maybe a little bit better, especially out of the opening. Right, this is fresh out of the opening, and into the middle game portion. You know, but yeah, be mindful of these tactics when you get tactics like this, where you see that, right? Or sorry, right? You go back to it. When he takes, right, the knight's guarded, right? But you see that this pawn, while it may be guarded, right, the pawn is also guarding the knight. So once the pawn is removed, the guard of the knight is removed, and when obviously material counts and everything, that a bishop is damn sure not nearly as as powerful as a queen, then you can obviously do the rest of the math from there, and simply put, the board changes every move. The board changes every move. Like right here, the board is not the same as it was at this point. It's completely different because here, depending on what he does, I can't take this knight. Right now, in this specific position, there's nothing he can do, right? Either that or here to try to guard it. But again, inaccuracy for multiple reasons, because now it's a double attack, right? And obviously the fact that that's still an issue. But for the sake of argument, let's just say this happens, then this happens. It's not a winning. It's a completely losing move. It's an overtly losing move. So there's nothing really in this position specifically, but do be mindful of how the board changes as the game progresses. With each move, by the way, these changes happen every move. These pieces have a completely different interaction. As the moves are played, and that can save your games. That can save a lot of games. When you realize, oh wow, that piece is not guarded anymore. Because especially at the beginner level, and all of this that I'm trying to explain to you guys is at the beginner level, because I'm a beginner myself, all things considered. So when I say these things, understand that whatever level you're at, even if you're at a higher level than I am, these tactics and these strategies and these themes all still apply to you. If anything, they apply more the stronger you become as a player. But this theme right here, removing a defender or piece interactions, that will take your game to the next level. Because you'll have moves like that you didn't even realize you could make. In tactics like that, in tactical finds that you didn't even realize you could find. Ooh, that's a good move. That's actually a good move. I didn't see that. That is actually a good move. Yeah. And you just trade. Yeah, you just trade. And you trade. Okay. And I can see how this move, and again, point one, I can see how this move is also a point one as, or this line is also a point one as fuck. All things considered. But anyway, guys, take care. And play some chess.